Hello class and welcome to Unit 7. We're going to do the videos, the hands-on, couple problems we'll go over. We're going to start with number 3 in your textbook, which is chips and salsa. It says write a program that lets a maker of chips and salsa keep track of sales for 5 different types of salsa, which are, mild, medium, sweet, hot, and zesty. The program should use 2 parallel 5-element arrays, an array of strings. So right there it tells you one of them must be a string, so automatically you'll know that you'll need to use the library that is string. Let's see where it was. String that holds the 5 salsa names, and an array of integers that holds the number of jars sold during the past month for each salsa type. So the salsa name should be stored using an initialization list at the time the name array is created. So right there you have to utilize those. You have to create them, and when you create your array of salsa types, and then from there you name them. Then once the salsa this program should prompt the user to enter the number of jars sold for each type. Once this sales data has been entered, the program should produce a report that displays the sales for each salsa type, total sales, and the name of the highest selling and lowest point. And then, of course, as usual, you have an input validation, which you cannot have a negative number, which is a logical thing. So we start with comment really quickly. So this is chapter 7, programming challenge number 3, which is chips and salsa. So we'll start with our library. So we'll need the usual, include IOStream. Then we'll have string, which they told us within the problem we need to use string. We need one more, which is IOmanip. Why? Because you have manipulation of numbers. IOmanip. Then we have using namespace, std. Then from there we need our function prototypes. So function prototypes, which are, first one, we're going to call it get total. And here we'll be using an integer, and we'll be using another integer. So 2 integers. Then we have one that we'll call POS of largest. So int POS of largest. And these are also the same, so we'll be using integers in this case. Oops. And then the last one, we'll call it the number of smallest. So int POS of smallest. And same thing, we'll be using integers in both cases. Then we'll have our main function, so int main. And now we need to do the declaration of our constant. Constant for the number of, let's see, of salsa types. So we'll have constant int, and then we know that the number types that we have is equal to 5 because we have 5 different flavors that we'll need to deal with. And now we need to create that array that has those types, and as they told us within the problem, we need to do the declaration for them at the same time. So we'll have string, oops, here we need to do array of salsa type. And here we'll have string. The types is what? Number types, which is equal to 5 different flavors. First one is mild. Second one is medium. Third one is hot. No, sweet, sorry. Next one they told us is hot. And then the last one is zesty. Now what we need to create is our array of sales for each salsa type. So for that one we'll do int sales of what? Of the number of number types, which is the one that we declared of the constant itself. So the number number types. Now the next thing we need to do is find the total number of jars sold. For that one we'll do int and we call it total jars sold. So total jars sold. Now the next thing we need to do is subscript. We need to create that subscript of the salsa that sold the most. So we need to find, you know, which one is the most that sells. Subscript of the salsa that sold the most. And then we'll do int, basically we'll call it high sales product. And then we'll do the same thing for the lowest, so the subscript for the smallest amount. So subscript of the salsa that sold the least. And for that one we'll do the same thing. Int, we'll call it low sales product. So right there we'll be able to find both the ones that sold the most and the one that sells the least. Then the next thing we need to do is get the number of jars sold. That's when you ask the user to enter that information. Sold for each type of salsa, I guess. And for that we'll do a for loop. So for int type is equal to 0, type less than number types plus plus, which will, you know, increase it every time we use one of them. And then from here we'll need to get the number of jars sold. So for that one we'll do, you know, a comment for the user, cout, telling him to or her, no discrimination, we're good. Jars sold last month of, and there'll be types of type. And then we'll use a cin, which is our sales of type. Now we need to make sure to validate that. Remember what they told us, that, you know, you cannot have anything that is a negative number. So in this case, we'll need to make sure that the number that is entered is, you know, a positive number. So validate the input from the user. In this case, we'll do just a while loop. While sales of type less than 0, which, you know, they told you if it's a negative number, can't do that. Then you'll have to ask the user to re-enter a number. So cout, telling the user jars sold, must be 0 or more. So basically we'll ask the user to re-enter the value. So please re-enter. And then cin of basically sales of the type. So sales type. So you're telling the user to re-enter that because it's invalid. So now the next thing we need to do is get total sales and high and low selling product. So to do that, we'll have total jar sold is equal to what? Get total of sales and the number type. Then we'll do the same thing for high sales and low sales. So high sales product is equal to POS of largest of sales and number type. And the last one is the low sales. Low sales product is equal to POS of of smallest of sales and number type. Now what we need to do is display the sales report header. So to create just a basic header, so display the sales report header. So cout, do an end-l, then we'll do cout, and then here we'll put, like some type of title. We'll call it salsa sales report. Let's take a couple spaces down the line. Then we'll do cout. We'll have the name. And I think here jars sold. Hopefully the formatting will look good. If not, you can just play with it and, until it looks good, basically. I think that should be fine. If not, I'll remodify that, later. And it's always a good idea to just have something that'll look pretty good, when you're doing something as a display when you run your program. It just looks good, for client and stuff like that. That you have some type of headers, you have some type of title, something that shows what you're getting done. So now, next thing we need to do is display the name of jar sold for each type. So display the name of jars sold for each type. And for that one, we'll do a for loop. So for int, we'll call it salsa type. Salsa type is equal to 0. Then salsa type is less than number types, and then salsa type plus plus. Then we'll do cout type of salsa type. We'll do some formatting. Set W to I'll try 21. If it doesn't work, then I can change it later. Sales of salsa type. And so we're done with this one. Now the next thing I need to do before I get into my function prototypes is display the total sales, highest seller, and then the lowest and the lowest. So to show the three of them. So I'll do a cout. Call it total sales, we'll do set W2. I did 21 for the salsa type. I'll do 12. Actually, I'll do 15. We'll check how it goes. And then total jars sold. Then I'll do cout. I'll do the highest sales. So high seller. And there'll be types of high sales product. And then I'll do the same thing for the lowest. So call it a low seller. Types low sales product. So now I'm done with this first part. And of course, I can't forget about return 0. I'm done with the first part. Now what I need to start working on is basically work on my function prototypes. So the first one we did was to get the total. So here I'm done with this one. So I go to the next one, which is the get total function calculates, and I'll have to do that for every single one that I got done. So every function prototype that I created, and returns the total of the values stored in the array. In the array passed to the function. So for that, I'll have int get total, total of int values and int size. So I need to find both. For that one, I'll do declaration of a variable, call it total, initialize that to 0. Do a for loop, so for int I is equal to 0, I less than size, I plus plus. Then I'll have total plus equal values of I. Oops, equal, not minus. And then return total. Next function prototype that I did is the POS of largest. So the PO of largest function finds and returns the subscript of the array position holding the largest value in the array passed to the function. So for that, I'll do int POS of largest. So that's my function prototype that I created at the beginning of my program. Int values of and size, I'm sorry. And then here I'll have int, what are we gonna call it? Index of largest, I guess, is equal to 0. So initialize that to 0. Then do a for loop for int I is equal to 1, I less than size, and then I plus plus. Well, that will give me that I need to do one more verification of the value itself. So I'll have a for loop for no, I'll do an if loop instead. If let's see, value of I, values of I is greater than values of index of largest, then in this case I'll have what? Index of largest is equal to I. And then what I need to return is basically return index of largest. And now I need to do the same thing for the smallest one, which is my last section. Do the same thing I just did for this one and return that. So, oops. So now I need to do the same thing. The POS of smallest of value, which is an integer. Oops. Function, let me put the comment first, finds and return the subscript of the array position holding the smallest value in the array and I'm sorry, passed to the function. So for that one, we'll do the same thing as we did above. So int POS of smallest of int, same thing, values, int size, and then I'll have my, let me move this up a little bit. I'll have int, I need to do a declaration for index of smallest, initialize that to 0, and then do the same thing, start with the for loop for int I is equal to 1, I less than size, I plus plus, and then do my if, same thing to confirm the values of I is less, I'm sorry, than values of index of smallest, index of smallest. And if that's the case, then index of smallest is equal to I. And then just return index of smallest. Let's run the program. Hopefully don't have any errors in it. Still building it, takes a second. So jars sold last month of mild. So I need to enter that. I'll do 10. Jars sold of medium, 15. Sweet. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have turned off my antivirus. My apology. Okay, let's do it again. 10, 15, 12, and 5. Zesty will do 20. Okay, let me turn off my antivirus just 1 second so I can run this thing Turn off for an hour, so we're good. Let me run the program again. So jars sold last month is 10, 20, 15, 5, 22. Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me check what's going on with this. What I forgot to do is go under project and change under property. Let me do that really quickly. Properties, because I created an empty project, that's the reason. So linkers, system, and then under system, change that to console. Apply. And I think this should do the job. So let's run this again. So 10, 20, 25, 30, and then 35. A little bit, the formatting is a little bit off, but I mean, you get the idea. Basically, it tells you how many jars were sold: 10, mild, 20, sweet. I need just to make the spacing a little bit better. For hot, zesty, tells me that total jars sold 120. Highest seller was zesty. If I look at it, it's 35. And the lowest was mild, which is 10. Correct. So right there, that's for this program. I'll have the code for you in Blackboard that you guys can review and go through it and run it yourself and see how it goes. Now let's try to do another program. All right, so the next one we're going to give it a shot is number 17. That's a fun one where you need 2 text files to read from. Which is a girl's name and boy's name. So if you look at 17, it says if you the files are available for you in Blackboard. So the girl's name is this file contains at least a list of 200 popular names given to girls, and same thing for boy's name. That's from 2000 to 2009. So write a program that reads the content of the 2 files into 2 separate arrays or vectors. And what I'll be using is basically vectors here just to show you how really that works. It'll be more fun to try. The user should be able to enter a boy's name or girl's or both, and the application should display the message indicating if one of them is more popular than the other. So pretty straightforward. Let's start with a quick comment. So chapter 7, programming challenge. Number 17, and that is name search. So we'll start. We need few libraries in this case. So the first thing, as usual, we always need IOStream. Then we need include. We need FStream because we're going to open a file. So you need to open the file and close it. So we need FStream, which allows us to stream, which allows us to open it and close it. FStream. Then I need also string. So include string. And I said I will use. I need vector because I'll be using vectors in this case. Include, if I can spell, vector. So I'll be using vectors instead of just basic arrays. So using, namespace, std. Now I need to do my function prototypes. So function prototypes. We'll start with vector, string. So vector, string, get vector, and there'll be string for this one. Then we need something to find it, so we'll use a boolean because it'll make sense once I run it for you guys. So boolean of a string, and I need to find vector of the string. Not sure how many of you will try to do it when you do your homework, one of the assignments, if it's possible to do it with the string or not. I think you should always try something new that you've never done before. So I'll have string get boy name, and I'll do the same thing for the girl. And then I'll have a string for get girl name. Now, what else do I need? I need to do my void. So void display. I need to display the boys and girls results. So display boy results of string, and then the vector string. Vector string. And I need to do the same thing for the girls. So void display girl result. And that'll be the same thing, vector string. Okay, so we're done with that one. Now we go into our main function. So int main, couple declarations. First one we'll call boy name, which is to hold the boy's name. Then we'll have one for girl name, which is to hold the girl's name. Now we need to initialize the vector. So initialize vectors with the names from the file. So I have the files on my desktop, so you guys can either put them in your folder directly of what you created, or you can put them on your desktop. So it doesn't really matter where you have them, as long as your path is readable. So the path of the files themselves. So I have boy name, boy names of get vector, and I have to put the file route. So where is it located? It's located on my C drive. C, then it's located under users. Then it's located under Ali, which is my son's name. Then actually nickname desktop. And then the name of the file, which is boy's name. .txt. So right there, it will recognize it and then goes and read it. I'm telling the compiler the name of the file I want you to read is boy's name, which is a txt file located on my desktop, Ali, users, and then C. Now I need to do the same thing for my second file, which is the girls file. String, and that is girl names of get vector, and that is, let me copy and paste that, it's the same one, and I'll just change the name of it. And that is girl's name. Okay, so that's it. I'm done for those two. So this will allow the compiler to go find those things and then read them for me. So now what I need to do is get the names as input from the user. So now I have to ask the user, go ahead and enter the name, and then what the compiler will do is take that name and then compare it to the names within the files themselves. So boy name is equal to get boy name, and then do the same thing for the girl. So girl name is equal to get girl name. Now I need to display the results. So display boy name of boy, oops, my bad. Boy name and boy names. And then do the same thing for the girls. So display girls results of girl name and girls girls names, and then return 0. So now I'm done with this. Now what I need to do is work on the vectors, function prototypes that I created earlier, which in this case will be the get vector function. That's the one I'll start with first. So the get vector function reads data from a file, stores it in a vector, and then returns the vector. So we'll start with vector of my string, and this one is get vector of string file name. To do that, we'll do a couple declarations of variables. So the first thing, I need to create something that will hold, the file's value, and then I need to create also something else that will allow me to hold something for the value itself. So I have to do both of them, which is a string value, and then I have to call the vector itself. So the first thing I'll do is a string, call it value, which is to hold a value from the file, and then I need to do vector of my string values, and that is to hold all the values from the file. So one of them is to hold just one single value, and the other one is to hold all the values from the file that I'm trying to read. So now the next thing we need to do is the file stream object to read data from a file. So I need to do the if stream. So I need to read it, then open it, read the information, then close it. So files stream object to read data from a file. So first thing I need to get done now is to tell the compiler, hey, I want you to go ahead and read the data from my file that I have on my desktop, which allows them to recognize what the data is. So next thing we need to do is file stream object to read data from a file. So to do that, we'll do the if stream command, if stream of input file. Now we need to open that file. So next thing we need to do is open the file. To open the file, we'll do input input file dot open, and we'll tell it what is it, which is file name. Now if the file successfully opened, then let the compiler just process it. So if input file go up a little bit. And then I'll do a while loop. So while input file greater than value, then store the value in the vector. So value dot push back of values. Now that's if it's successful. Now if it's not, else display an error message. So if it's unable to read it, just display cout error opening the file. So telling the user that, hey, you can't find your file. Either your path is incorrect or you did not place it, in the right spot or something like that. And then what I need to do is, if it doesn't find it, I need to exit from the process. So exit, I need the compiler to just stop the program. So exit the program. And then you do exit 0. And that will force the compiler to basically get out of it, of the program, because it was unable to read the file and open it. So it's unable to get the information that it needs from it. So to get all the names. So, and then we need to return the vector, which is return values. Now we're done with, we're done with this one. Now what we need to do is the next function prototype, which in this case is the isFound. So the isFound function returns true if the item is found in the vector. Now what if it doesn't? Otherwise it returns false. So for that, we'll use our Boolean isFound of string. We'll call it item, and then we'll get the vector string of my values. So we'll have Boolean of, we'll call it status is equal to false. So we'll initialize that to false, which is to set the status to false. Next thing we need to do in this case is create a way to search the vector. So we need to search the vector for the item. So search the vector for the item. We'll use a for loop. We'll do for string of values, of actually value of my values. So now what we need to do is determine if it was able to find it or not. So either status is true or status is false. So if it finds it, great. If it doesn't, then the status, it won't be able to find it. So determine if the item is found. So if item equals value, then I know that it found it, which is awesome. In this case, if so, set status to true. So status equals true. Now we're done with this one. Next thing we need to do for this function prototype is just return return the status of, in this case, which is return status. So done with this. Next we need to do is the get boy name, and then we'll do the get girl name function. So we need the last two in this case, which is our function for the boys and then function for the girls. So we need to read each function and then try to find the info of each one of those. So first thing we need to do is the get boy name function prompts the user to enter a boy's name and return the value. So string get boy name so we'll do first string. You know what, it's also a good idea, what if I don't want to do the boy's name? Like if I want to only check the names in the file, the girls files. So what we can do, actually it's a good idea, let's do that. We'll do string name is equal to n, which allows us to hold the boy's name. And then what we need to do is get the info of that from the user. So here, after the user enters the information, so let me ask the user, get the boy's name as input from the user. Now I'll show you in a sec. Let's do cout. So let's ask the user enter a boy's name or n if you, let's say for example the user doesn't want to enter a boy name, only the user wants to check the girl's name, do not wish to enter a boy's name. So then what the compiler will do is it will skip the boy and it will only read the girl's name, and then it will only compare it to the names within the girl's girl file, and then return the boy's name, which is return the name. And I'll do the same thing with the girls also. I'll do the same thing with the girls. So let me go down a little bit. So now I need to do the same thing as I did with the boys, but instead of entering the the name of the boy, I'll do the girl's name. So in this case, let me just copy paste this. Let's do it the smart way. Work smart, don't work hard, right? Get the girl name function. So here I need to change this to girl name, and then n, we'll keep the whole thing but just change this, and then here girl's name from, so enter a girl's name, and we'll leave it the same as if the user don't want to enter a girl's name, just leave it, skip it, so only reads the one from the boys. So girl's name. All right, so we're done with this one. Now the next thing we need to do is display the boys result function. So the next thing we need to do is the function for the display the girls, display the boys, and then display the girls. So both of them display the results to determine if which one is which, as determining the information from that. So now I did, okay, I asked the user to enter either the boy's or girl's name. If they don't want to do that, then they can just go ahead and skip it. Now we need to work on the display boys result function determines if the boy's name is popular or not, and display the results. So we use our void, which we created at the beginning of our program, display boy results of a value, which is a string value. Then I need to do the vector string of values. Now what I need to do is display the results for the boy's name entered by user. So display the results for the boy's name entered by user. So if value is equal to n, which is pretty much telling the user wants to skip it, oops, or value equals lowercase n, just in case the user enters a lowercase, then cout you choose not to enter a boy name. Else we'll do an else if else if is found of value and then values. So either the user enters one or doesn't. Then we'll have cout of value. Is one of the popular, most popular boy's name. So right there, we're telling it that, hey, what you entered is one of the most popular names. If not, then we'll tell it, hey, else it's not one of them. So pretty simple. If it doesn't read it. So I'm done with this one. I'll do my last else. Cout of value is not one of the most popular boy's name. Okay, we're done with this one. Next thing we need to do is the same thing we did with the boys, but in this case we're going to do it with displaying the girls' values and, you know, exactly doing the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this and change the names, girls and boys and etc. So Let's see. So display girl name to determine if the girl's name is the most popular. So here we changed this to girl results. So value stays the same. You chose, let's see, girl's name. We'll see in a sec when I run it if I messed up or not. Girl name, found it. Okay, most popular girls name, and then here else the value is girl's name. Let's see, did I do this right? Let's see, value, find it, value, then we'll determine what it is. If it's correct, it will determine that's the value for it. If not, let's see, value. Okay, I think that's it. I think that will cover everything that we need to do within the program. Let's go ahead and try to compile this and see if we get any error. Okay, there's an error. Let's check what it is. What is it? It says expected, a parenthesis. A parenthesis where? Let's see here, semicolon. Oops, it should be comma. Okay, so we solved that one. What else is a problem? Let's run it again. Let's see. No. What else? What? No instance of overload function. So it's not recognizing this. Allocation of this. So it's not recognizing the pushback. Values, pushback of, is it, let's see, what did I determine for this one? Sorry, input. Oh, it's right here. That's the problem. It's not values, it's value. So it was reading the wrong thing, that's why. Alright, let's run this, see if I have any more mistakes. Oops, a lot of mistakes on the second one. I was doing well with the first one. Let's see. Oops, wrong thing. I need a semicolon. So, what else? I'm getting tired, that's the problem. Let's see. Expected a bracket, where? Expected a bracket. Expected a bracket for the display boys result. So display the boys result. What? What is it talking about? So my void. Oh, right here. And then I need one right here. And I need the same thing for this. Oops, I forget that one. Okay. Now let's see what else. Hey, I got it. Okay. Enter a boy's name or N if you wish. If you do not wish to enter a boy's name. So let's enter. What's a popular name? I have no idea. Bob, I guess. And then for girls, Melanie. So it says Bob is not one of the most popular boys' names. Oops. Melanie is one of the most popular girls. Oh, poor Bob. Let's see. Let's try something else. I'll do N. I don't want to put a boy's name. I'll do a girl's name. I'll do Stephanie. Stephanie is one of the most popular names. Okay, let's try Boy, let's do Jacob. I guess that should be popular. Girls, and I don't want to. Jacob is one of the most popular names, and that's pretty much what it is for this one. So hopefully, this will allow you to view, how to play with vectors and not just deal with arrays, because I know a lot of people would just go with arrays. It's a lot simpler. No, not usually. Sometimes actually vectors are a lot more useful than arrays, and how you manipulate it just gives you more control, especially when you start learning about pointers and stuff like that. It can be very helpful to use that. Hopefully this will help a little bit, for you to work on your homework and understand a little bit more how vectors work. And the next unit 8, also will deal more with arrays and manipulations of arrays. So hopefully that will help a little bit, and I will see you guys in the next unit. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.